because it's a recession. Everybody is broke. Also, everybody should start talking about that. Everybody is broke. Nilla wafers are $7. So how am I supposed to find joy? And for you bitches to be audacious enough to ask me to get a glass of wine and fucking dinner every night is crazy. So anyway, invite me to your house so we can rub our feeties together.
What if your interests don't align with your budget or your finances, right? So she said specifically, what if, for example, I like mountains and Indian food, but I meet somebody who wants to do those things and I can't afford to do it? I'm going to give you some scripts on what to say in just a second. Okay. But in the meantime, I want you to keep two things in mind. The first is we're not going to be sorry or apologetic about our financial situation. We're not going to feel shame around it. Shame means you feel bad about it. But if you are doing ethical things to get your money and you're working as hard as you can, you're doing what you can, there's no shame or embarrassment around doing what you can do. I say that because a lot of times when we respond to people's social invitations, it's with apology. I'm so sorry, but I can't. Or we're thinking of ways to like lie about it or to explain and justify. Your situation's your situation, okay?
But what I don't understand is just be honest with people. There's no shame in being honest. Just say, hey, listen, my wife and I'm trying to get some things paid off, and right now I've just reined in my finances and delayed gratification right now. I appreciate it. Maybe we can do something, but if it's going to cost any money, just not doing it right now. Just be honest. Why do you have to play these games and try to put on airs like, you're not struggling or you're not trying to get things under control? There's nothing wrong with that.
And the second thing is you're always going to offer alternatives. So we've got to get creative with alternate ways we can engage in our interests that don't necessarily look like paying thousands of dollars to make a trip. But there are other ways I can enjoy the interests, right? So for example, let's say you have a friend who asks you to go to an exhibit, a limited exhibit that's coming to the museum, and it's like $40. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, right now I don't have the disposable income for a $40 ticket, right? Plus food or whatever. So instead of saying, I can't afford that right now. Okay. Instead, I'm going to say, yeah, I heard about that exhibit and it looks so good. But, with a couple other things I've got going on, I don't think I can add a $40 ticket to it. So there is this podcast though that I heard about, all about the artist, and apparently it's really good. I'm going to send you a link. So how about we listen to it together on Saturday and then link up to talk about it? Because I know we're going to have thoughts. You'll notice my energy is still high. I'm still smiling. My body language is not that of a person who is sorry or embarrassed. My body language is of a person who's confident and who says, hey, this is the situation. I can't swing that right now, but let's do this instead. Are you down? And the right friends don't need an expensive backdrop upon which to interact. The right people, at the end of the day, they want your company. And it would be a cherry on top to be able to take the trip or do the whatever. But at the end of the day, they want you. So if you're saying hey, can we listen to this podcast about the artist? Because apparently it's really good. You want to meet up and talk about it next week? That's enough.
Why does cooking for one feel like half the meal, but twice the cleanup? Let me show you how
So that's something to keep in mind. If you get invited to a bachelorette of a girl who you're not super close with, and you're like, man, I can't spend $2,000 on you this weekend. Instead, it's going to be something like, man, with some other things I'm prioritizing financially, I really am not going to be able to realistically make this trip. But I know that you guys are going to, XYZ bar on your first night out. Everybody's drink is on me, your first drink. So what's your Venmo? I'll send it to you so you guys are good to go. What I am going to do is offer my capacity with confidence, and I'm going to take some time to sit down and figure out, okay, what are my top 4 interests? What are some ways I can engage my interests that don't necessarily look like the obvious thing? Going to expensive restaurants, taking expensive trips. What are creative ways you can indulge in it? Can I invite my friend over because I'm going to make a vision board of all the spots I'm determined to go next year, and she can keep me company while I do it? If I love Indian food, can I pick out a recipe I want to make and be like, hey, come over while I put this recipe together because I want to see if it's as good as people say? Or can we take a trip to an ethnic grocery store and come walk with me while I look to see if they've got all the ingredients that I need for something I'm trying to do next week? And we spend 30 minutes just chopping it up and talking about Indian food while we're there browsing for 30 minutes. What are creative ways I can engage my interests with another person that don't necessarily look like the most financially dependent option? Something to consider.
If you're going out to dinners with friends and you really can't afford these dinners, here are 3 ways to get out of any dinner or birthday party if you just can't afford it. For a birthday party, Send a text to your friend saying, hey, Alexa, as much as I would love to come, financially, I can't handle this right now, but I would love to go on a picnic or a walk with you to celebrate your birthday. To get out of splitting the bill on a group dinner where you barely ordered anything. Whoever put the dinner together, go to the bathroom and have the waiter bring you a totally separate check for exactly what you ordered. And if you're...
You know, the crazy thing about all of this is most people, most good friends are going to be like, you know, I got you. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Everybody has struggled at one time in their life. You know what I'm saying? Just be honest with people. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We all are at different levels. It's all good.
too nervous to be honest and need something cooler to say, simply just say you're starting a business and all the money needs to go into your business right now.
I can't afford to host people. I want to invite people over to my house, but I can't afford it. And I want to explain something to you. If you feel this way, it's because your invitation is not packed enough. And by packed, I mean it doesn't invite the right people. It's not doing the right activities. It doesn't have the right communal spirit, and it doesn't have the right duration. Let me explain. Number one, people. If there's any part of you that feels pressure to perform or to impress through having a really aesthetic spread and by being really entertaining, you may have invited the wrong people. Because inviting people to your home for a chill get together where you leave feeling energized and just totally satisfied has a lot to do with the company. So I'm not a fan of excluding others and things like that. But sometimes, yeah, you're going to have to be mindful of who's in the room because it probably directly impacts how you feel and what you do. I'm just saying. The next is activities. So this might sound really technical, but I got this from a book called The Art of Gathering, which I cannot recommend enough. But like, what are y'all doing? I know sometimes we're like, okay, come and hang out, but help people preview the experience of what that will be. And it can be literally anything you want. You can invite them over to do a Sex in the City marathon. You can make the activity be like crafting something, like we're going to create something together. I mean, what is it that we're doing? It gives people a better idea, and it also helps to direct you on like how to invest your money, time, things like that. And then finally, it makes it like fun and memorable. So I'm just saying. Okay.
You know, I'm glad I don't have the stress of worrying about hanging out with people or catching up with friends and, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this or that because I don't have this or that. You know, maybe it's just because I'm a little older. You know, my wife and I are more homebodies, so we're just cool being together here in the house. We don't have to be traveling. We don't have to be running from here to there, trying to entertain ourselves. It's just different stages of life. I'm just looking at a lot of these people. Most of these people that are talking are in their 20s and 30s, so they're still in that phase of life where they feel like they just have to be out doing things or they're missing things. For me personally, I could give a crap. You know what I'm saying? I can't afford it. We're trying to pay the house off. Sorry. Maybe you guys can just come over. We can hang out. Maybe cook a meal. I'm serious. I don't have those issues no more.
Another thing that's really important is the spirit of community. If you feel a pressure to host by supplying everything and doing everything, there's no real spirit of community because again, it's training them to come and be entertained and come and be fed. Now, I agree that as a host, you want to host. You should have something to offer people to drink or whatever, like basic staples. But how can you integrate a spirit of actual community in the gathering? That might look like, hey, everybody, you bring this, and you bring this, and it's something really small. Or you can remove the expectation altogether that it's going to be a gathering where we're eating. Like maybe it's like a desserts only gathering. So like go ahead and eat dinner on your own, and then we're making candles and I don't know, and eating fruit, or making candles and doing dessert only. Everybody bring a dessert. So you can shape it to be what you want and stop expecting it to be these grand occasions. I think we're less likely to hang out and do the things because, I'm not going to digress too much, but I don't know if like this whole Instagram, social media culture gives us this pressure to make everything aesthetic or whatever. But again, that goes back to point number one of inviting the wrong people to begin with, And finally, I think this is like the missing ingredient in a lot of social gatherings: duration. How long are we going to be here? If that is something that kind of holds you back from offering up your home as like a hosting venue, because you feel like it's going to be an all night thing, and like, how do I let people know when I'm done, and how do they know when to arrive? Because if it feels like it's all night, then I feel like I can arrive whenever. As the host, you shape all of that. You front load the invitation with those expectations, even if it's casual. So you might say, yeah, we're going to, I don't know, insert activity here. So if you get here around 6, then we're going to wrap by 8:30 so I can get my beauty rest, girl. It can be playful, but that's me letting you know we're going to do this for 2 hours. This is when we start, and this is when we're going to say goodbye. It's going to be a great time. You would be surprised. People actually like having those parameters. So be sure to make sure your invites and your hosting is packed, and then you'll be good to go.
So this is why I don't get the mail anymore. Yesterday, I made a video saying, hey, stop inviting me to things. I can't have any more friends because I can't afford to go to all of your occasions of getting married and birthdays and baby stuff. Like, I can't afford it. I can't. Guess what was in the mail? Go ahead, guess. An invitation to a 1-year-old's birthday. Out of town. And guess what? Go ahead, just take a wild guess what the invitation said.
If we can't make it, that we can send a present, and here's the link.
Now, for all the moms out there, don't get mad at me, but like, a 1-year-old's not gonna remember who's at their birthday. They're not even gonna remember. They're probably gonna poop their pants. Let's be real. This is all to get presents or money or whatever. Like, I'm not going to freaking Ohio for a 1-year-old's birthday.
I've come to terms with the fact that at this point in my life, I cannot afford friends. I cannot afford brunch every single weekend. I cannot afford concerts every month. I cannot afford 10 birthdays in June. I cannot afford trips to God knows where.
So who goes to a concert every single month? Please explain that to me. Like I said, maybe I'm just in a different phase of life.
Cannot afford it. I can't even imagine being a bridesmaid or being in a wedding right now. That would set me back financially to a point of no return. And it's so funny because sometimes I see these large friend groups and part of me is like, wow, like that is so cool and that must be really nice. And then reality sets back in and makes me realize like you cannot afford that. And I've seen some people talk about this before, but not enough of how much of a luxury friendship is. It costs a lot of money to maintain and to create new friendships. And I'm in a place where I'm just surviving. The economy is what it is. I don't even know how people are going out. I mean, if I go out one weekend, I have to live like a monk the following weekend. So I really do need to pick my battles wisely these days. And having a lot of friends just is very expensive. And then on top of that, I'm expected to date.
Outside is real expensive right now. I can't afford to be outside. I can't do it. You open the door and immediately $100 just flies out of your pocket. Everybody I know has a kid graduating from high school or college. I don't have another gift card in me. My kids want to be outside. Y'all, send help. Send help.
I get where they're coming from. I mean, I remember different phases in my own life where it just seemed like there was always something. You know what I mean? And I really think it comes back to just the different seasons of life. You know, when you have young kids and you're raising kids and you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to make ends meet and money's tight, you know, or I understand it. I have experienced those things where it seems like every other weekend, you know, there's something going on. Hey, can we go do this? You know, such and such is having a party, or, you know, you have to get this wedding gift. I am so glad I don't have that kind of stuff in my life anymore. You know, maybe I'm just not very social. I just don't have these struggles that you hear these people talking about. Now, I'm not saying to be braggadocious. It's just, again, different seasons of life. It's just not an issue with, at least with my family.
I don't know if it's just me, but I don't like it when people or my friends say, Zama, let's go out, and I tell them that I don't have money, and then they say, no, it's fine, I got you.
Nothing wrong with that.
For me, it's a thing of, if I don't have money, I am not gonna go out. No mongati, I got you, I want not, especially if it's a group activity or group thing, and then I'm not mad and I'll say, no, Zama, it's fine, I got you. No. Because now imagine we at a restaurant and like this.
You see, what a lot of people don't realize is when somebody wants to bless you, now her friend that says, hey, don't worry about it, I got you, I'll pay for it. That person's obviously in a position to do so. So my advice to her would be, let them bless you. Now, I wouldn't do this every week, but if they want you to go and they are in a better shape financially, let them bless you, because when you deny them that blessing, you're stealing their blessing.
Half of us, right? And we're done eating. So now everyone is paying their part of the bill, right? And then, guys, someone did not pay for their food. Like, who did not pay for food? Like, who did not pay? And then I'm just sitting there like, oh no, she said she's gonna pay for me. And then my friend is like, oh no, I forgot. Yeah, no, guys, I said I'm gonna pay for it. It slipped out of my mind. And then after that, everyone goes to Cinnabon because it's a thing of, I want Cinnabon. And then everyone is just ordering and paying. And it's, aren't you buying anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I'm just good. And then the friend who said she got you would say, oh, no, come. Which one do you want? I'll buy it for you. Like, it's not even a pride thing, but it makes me feel like an ice boy. It's
a little bit of
ice because
pride.
I contribute to it, or whatnot. It makes me feel like that person, like an ice boy. I don't want to lie.
Worth pointing out that it's expensive to hang out with rich kids. If you cannot afford a weekend in Paris, you're out. Well, this is actually not true, and let me tell you about my friend group. We always had a few kids who were from a different financial background, and the hardest thing is to meet those people, right? Because usually you hang out at different places, but if you meet and if you make a good connection, it can be really life-changing. So when we would go on vacations, we as a friend group would either split to cover those people, or the person who was the closest with them would just completely cover all of their expenses. But let me tell you about one of my guy friends who was not as privileged, but he was friends with our friend group, right? He was so smart. He never asked for money. He always asked for an opportunity. And first of all, it made all of us completely respect him and look up to him. And second of all, he knew money can end really fast, but opportunity can take you the long way. So he asked one of our rich kids' parents to refer him to university, because they went to the same university where he wanted to go. And they did. And he did end up going there. But in order to ask for such favor, you have to understand that he had to build a relationship with that family. And he really knew how to do it. And some of you will say that he was fake nice, but everybody is fake nice. But he really showed to those parents that he's disciplined, that he's organized, that he knows how to be friendly, how to build relationships. And that's why they refer him, because they knew that he will be doing exactly the same things with people to who they referred him, right? And then he came to university, and it was so easy for him to become friends with rich kids again, because he knew all of the cool vacation spots. He went there with his other friend group. He knew everything they were talking about. It was such an easy transition for him, and it really made his network become bigger and bigger. And then he ended up going to really cool companies because of referrals as well. And I know that some of you will call him a social climber, but you have to see that person in order to understand that people were drawn to him. They wanted to be next to him. So we were just paying for his vacation because we wanted to be in his presence. And there were so many people like this. I'm just telling you one story, but this is not true. If you're good friends with rich kids, they will cover everything, and if they're good people, they will never remind you of it. And if you're a good friend of them, you will always make sure that you know when to say no, because sometimes they will be offering something crazy, and you have to say no in order to keep that respect.
My unpopular opinion is it became shameful to say I can't afford something when people forgot that being broke and not being able to afford something are two totally different things. When somebody tells me that they're broke, I think that they're scraping by on pennies and nickels. I feel like they're about to ask me for $20 to get by, like they literally cannot afford life. But to say I can afford something means I could buy that thing 3 times over and still be good tomorrow. The other day, I'm planning a trip with friends, and they're like, oh, you need to give us your $1,000 deposit if you're trying to go on a trip today. I was like, I can't afford that. They were like, oh, so bitch, you're broke? Whoa. A bitch is not broke. That is not the case. Hold up. I had to explain the difference because, one, I'm not broke, but also this is why people be out here lying to y'all about these trips, going on a trip with $100, because as soon as somebody say they can't afford it, all of a sudden they a broke ass bitch. That is not the case. I feel like as we're entering our 20s, we have to be mature and actually stick to a budget. Can
anybody please educate me on what is the deal with people putting on their makeup while they record a video? I don't understand it. I don't know if it's just something for show. I know some people use it to sell products, but this is a dude literally putting on some sort of skincare products just like you see with the ladies doing it. I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
Because I'm not out here dropping $1,000 in a 2-minute conversation does not mean that I'm broke. And don't get me started on how everybody just loves to rack up credit card debt to make up for their impulsive spending that they know that they can't afford. We got to get it together, and we got to learn the difference between being broke and being able to afford something.
I hate when I go out to dinner with a big group of people and everyone's ordering and living their best life, and then the tab comes and someone has the nerve to say, let's split it. First off, chips and salsa, margarita honey darling. Okay, I did not purchase me anything but some beans and rice, okay, with a side of H2O on the rocks. Okay, I can't afford your $872 meal when mine was supposed to cost me $12.32. So we're gonna need to rethink we're splitting this tab thing, okay? Because you are 3 salted rim, jalapeno, cucumber, margie margs in, and I cannot afford your lifestyle. And you know what's funny? It's always the person that just wants to try like one of each thing on the menu that has the brilliant idea of then sharing the tab. You know, I'm not here for it. Next time, I'm not coming.
All this unnecessary stress over stupid stuff. Like, I get the whole let's split the tab, especially when I've never had anybody do that. You know, usually when we split the tab, everybody just, if the waiter brings you one bill, everybody just kind of figures out what they owe and then that's what they pay. These people crack me up. She's like, I ain't even going no more.
What do people do on the weekend? They go out with their friends. They travel. They go spend time with their family. Me? I went and toured a whole bunch of apartments that I definitely can't afford to make me feel like I'm doing better in life.
This is the single biggest reason why I'm no longer in a trying phase of my life. I'm not doing it. I will put in effort where effort is due, and my friends know this, but I'm not trying and I'm not bending over backwards anymore. Because every single time I've done that or felt like I was doing that, it just wasn't worth it. I'm very much in the era of if it flows, it flows. If it doesn't, it goes. I'm just not forcing anything anymore. If I'm having to battle against constant misunderstanding, I'm out. If I'm having to sacrifice parts of myself in order to make things work, I'm out. Like, I don't have the energy to invest and overcommit where my energy could go to better things. I can't do it anymore. I will play where it's safe and I will be where I'm valued, and my effort will naturally just flow and naturally just occur because it feels safe to put in that effort. If I'm having to battle against myself to put in effort, something's wrong.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, do I want to go out? I'm going to say yes, because I do want to go out even though I'm broke.
I think as we get older, the salary difference between... Boy, do I have a lot to add to this conversation as someone in professional school. As students, our reality is a little bit different compared to people who are in professions and careers where they're kind of like capped pay. Highest pay is a lot lower than it should be, and like they should be like compensated for their work better and get paid living wages. Like it's different because like for us, it's like this temporary thing, and like eventually we'll like make enough money to have like a living wage, right? Or in a lot of cases more than that, depending on what like specialties you choose, what exactly, I don't know, like what you decide to do in your specific profession, right? But one thing that everyone kind of tells you about is that when you're a student in your 20s and you watch your friends like grow in your careers, you're just like you're just left there standing like, oh my God. And it's like, because you're watching your friends kind of grow up in a sense and step into the real world and like take on these like other like corporate jobs or like whatever they're doing type of jobs where they have like a real salary, and you're like, well, I do not have a salary. And you like, I feel like it's stunting me a little bit because I feel a little bit like a child, like we are like child adults. But as far as like hanging out, like it's crazy to me, like some people can just like go out and like order 3 drinks and a meal and like they're okay with it. And I'm here like, okay, I can either get like an appetizer and a drink, maybe, or I can get a meal. Or if I get a drink and a meal, then like I can't do XYZ things like next week. Like, you know, or maybe like I'll cut from like my groceries somehow. Obviously, this is very different for people who come from like more privileged backgrounds.
You know, I don't think it really comes down to it being privileged background. There's a little bit of truth there, but I think a lot of these people put so much unnecessary stress on themselves. And most of them, like I said, they're young. They haven't lived long enough to really experience life. Having been where they're at, I understand that life is full of peaks and valleys. It ebbs and flows, you know. So yeah, there's going to be a time where you're with somebody and they can afford 3 drinks and a meal, and you're like, man, you're trying to find the cheapest thing on the menu. We have all been there, you know. But my advice to all these people is quit letting all this undue pressure affect your decision making. If you can't afford it, just say, I can't afford it. You know, I got some other things I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get some stuff paid off. I just can't do it. If you want to hang out, we can hang out, but I'm not spending any money right now. Just be honest with people. You know, people respect honesty. You know, and trying to act like you got it all together when you don't. And if somebody wants to bless you and they want to take you somewhere and say, hey, I got you, let them bless you. You know, a lot of times you are praying and asking God to change your circumstances or make things better, and then he sends somebody along to kind of give you a little bit of a helping hand, and your pride refuses to let him do it. Been there, done that. Been that guy, you know. Got the card, so to speak. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And as always, I love you guys, and I will check you on the next one. Later.